Have you hesitated or avoided taking action on something that you really want because you are afraid it won't work? What we're actually afraid of in those instances is of how we think we will feel when things don't work. Feeling bad about ourselves, feeling bad about our capacity to accomplish something, or feeling bad about what people might think about us or judge us on. And what's really interesting around this is that it really comes down to a misunderstanding about how emotions work. And it's predicated on a couple of assumptions that are pretty faulty, actually. So the first assumption is that we can predict how we will feel when something happens. And that is just not true. And it's not true for a couple of reasons. Number one, how we feel changes all the time. So let me give you an example. So let's say you get a promotion. So most people would say, if I get a promotion, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel proud. And that's not always what happens. Even though there might be an instance of happiness or gratitude for what's happening, often there's another feeling of fear or anxiety or worry of, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to fulfill on my commitment here? Am I going to be able to actually do a good job in this new role? And a similar thing happens with getting fired. You know, we just assume that if we get fired, that we will not feel great. We'll be worried or anxious or upset. And again, we might have a moment of all of those things, but we might also feel quite happy with the fact that we're no longer working for that company. We might feel some peace that we're no longer having to be challenged with whatever we were challenged with in that role. And we might feel excited about what this might open up for us as well. And so this assumption that we'll know how we feel when something happens is not true. We're really bad at predicting how we're going to feel in certain circumstances, that we really convince ourselves that we really will know how we'll feel. But even if there's a grain of truth that we will feel crappy when XY happens, if XY happens, we tend to dramatize the experience of that. We assume that we'll feel the same way for a long time within a scenario. And that's just not emotions work. Emotions go up and down. And so we'll might feel angry for some time and then we won't. And we might feel happy for some time and then we won't. And we might feel worry for some time and then we won't. And that's just how emotions work. And if there's two things I'd love you to walk away with from this video on emotions, is that one, emotions fluctuate consistently and without any effort on your part. It's just what they're meant to do. And number two is when we're feeling angry or worry or anxiousness or stress or overwhelm or any of those kind of emotions, the only thing it's telling us is that we are wrapped up in some insecure thinking, that we're wrapped up in some unhelpful thinking. And it's simply a pointer to allow that emotion to pass before we take any action. It's allow that to settle and then to simply do what it occurs us to do, to follow our wanting, to follow our desire, to follow our common sense. So my invitation to you is start really looking at your emotions. Look at how they come and go. Look at what your experience of life is moment to moment, and look at how much control you actually have on that. And I'll bet you'll notice that there are moments where you've been really worked up about something and that you kind of just wake up and it's no longer a big deal. And you've done really little to have that. And the reason for that is that it's just how we're designed. It's how we work. And as we look at this, we start to really be skeptical about, oh, I'm going to do this because I'll feel this way. Or I'm not going to do this because I don't want to feel another certain way. Because you kind of start realizing that that's not how it works.